boy. It's not good. I can't even finish with girl push-ups.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Evan Freiberger, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. I'm still obviously going to be doing a weather forecast for the entire United States, and that is going to be including watching some of these features that we are seeing here on satellite, like this one, then also potentially this one. As a lot of you guys know, our previous tropical try, I guess you could say, in the Gulf of Mexico has failed. There's a chance that this thing might do a little bit of a loop-de-loop, or at least the moisture will do a little bit of a loop-de-loop and eventually try to enter back down into the Gulf of Mexico, maybe giving another small chance for a tropical development. Also, some flow aloft is going to be heading all over the United States up here into the Ohio Valley, and that's going to be causing an increase of severe weather as we go into the future, potentially a lot more damaging wind events. Maybe a derecho can't be ruled out either. But basically, as this forecast is going to go, is that every time that I use a filler word or a word like or like, I will have to do one push-up by the end of the video. So let's get right to it. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It does help out the channel a lot. Also helps us grow as well. First off, starting off with today's, dang it, not a good start. Starting off with today's severe weather forecast, you can see that we do have an enhanced, or not enhanced, but a marginal risk all the way from Nevada going into Utah, Idaho, going into Wyoming, going into Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and we also have a slight risk out over here near Sioux Falls and just north of Omaha. And believe it or not, we have a 5% and a 2% on that. Dang it, not again. I can already tell this is going to be a pretty hard video to do. But yeah, we have a 5% over there in the Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Nebraska area. We also have a slight risk back over here near Missouri, going through Jonesboro all the way to North Carolina, Virginia, going up potentially into Maryland and Delaware as well, with another slight risk over there. Now down over here is going to be mainly a damaging wind and hail event. Same thing for up here, but we also do have a little bit of an elevated chance out here for a tornado or two. So again, if you live in Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Yankton, Mankato, Mason City, Waterloo, Fort Dodge, Des Moines, Columbus, Norfolk, Broken Bow, O'Neill, Mitchell, DeSmet, and Clear Lake, you guys need to be watching out for the potential of tornadoes. We might go live to cover this later on today. So we'll keep you in the know. So in terms of timing for this northern risk, as you can see, a lot of rain is going to be happening over there near Minneapolis. That's not going to really be our tornado threat. It's really not going to be until later on tonight where we start to see some storms develop. I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 a.m. where storms could eventually fire and then come down to the south. Maybe even as early as 11 p.m. we could start to see some storms develop here, maybe turning into a damaging wind threat, maybe having that tornado threat. Let's go look at our environment and see what we're dealing with. We'll go over to our significant tornado parameter and check out. Dang it. I think we're already at 3 push-ups or maybe even more by now. This sucks. Also, I'm gonna try to do a one-handed push-up at the end of it as well. But yeah, it looks like as soon as this little line forms by around, let's go back a little bit further. Yeah, tornado chances really don't rise until those storms start to convect. And yeah, I mean, there are some little areas here where a tornado will be possible, right on there on the border of Nebraska and South Dakota. Then that moves off to the east towards like northwest of Vermilion. And then eventually at around 5 a.m., our tornado chances start to go down. So it looks like it is going to be this little complex here of storms starting off around 10 p.m. and going into around 1 a.m. that's near Vermilion, maybe a small tornado chance. And most likely after that, it'll be transitioning more into a damaging wind event, but a brief tornado late night may be expected. So if you live out here, I'd be weather aware. And coming back down over here, you can see with this marginal risk, this slight risk over there near Richmond and Virginia and Greenville. We are going to have some storms fire along a boundary, a couple of some thunderstorms, maybe some severe weather possible over there near Kentucky, northeastern Tennessee by 2 p.m. And we're starting to see some storms get started over here in the Virginia and North Carolina area. You can see we have a couple of storms firing by around 2 p.m. as well. Those move on to the east, mainly bringing small chances for some damaging winds and maybe some instances of some larger hail around quarter size. But it's going to be pretty scattered out there, and it's going to last pretty much until about 1 a.m. And then most of those thunderstorms will start to fall apart. Come over to our significant tornado parameter, just double checking to see if there's any elevated last minute tornado chances. Really doesn't seem like it. Maybe if something can get fired over there north of Virginia Beach, let's come over. Yeah, there's no storms over there. So probably a near zero chance for tornadoes out there. But I would definitely be aware of that severe weather if you have any outdoor plans. Coming into day 2, you can see our severe weather is going to be pushing off that little shortwave trough. It's going to come into Nebraska Nebraska, South Dakota, and Iowa today. Going into tonight is going to be pushing into the Ohio Valley the next day. So I do expect there to be kind of a similar environment out here. But if you live anywhere from like Iowa going into Missouri, Wisconsin, all the way down into Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, talking about Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, all need to be weather aware on this day. We're going to do a little bit of a breakdown to see if we have any unexpected changes here in a little bit. But further back to the west, you can see we also have a marginal risk extending through Montana, North South Dakota, going into Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, and northern Kansas. As of right now, it looks like our tornado chances are pretty low, but we'll be double checking those in today's forecast as well, just to make sure we're not going to get any escalations. But a 2% over there in southern Michigan, northern Indiana, over there near Chicago, and northern Ohio need to be watching out for a small chance for a tornado. Some wind chances are also going to be possible. That's a 15% chance for some damaging winds of 60-mile-per-hour winds and above there in the yellow, and a 5% chance in the, I guess we'll count that as a push-up as well. That's kind of a filler word, I guess. But yeah, the brown is a 5% chance of the same thing, and hail risk is going to be pretty low for this day. Now, coming into our future radar, you can see that we are going to have that little shortwave kind of move through the area, starting at around Chicago, and then eventually pushing down to the south and east. You can see that we actually do have a couple of supercells fire out in front of this thing. If this thing is producing a little bit of an elevated environment, like for wind shear, or got a decent amount of winds turning with height. Looking at our significant tornado parameter, not really seeing much to note there. Storm relative velocity is relatively on the lower side, but this storm has a decent amount of what we call vorticity and 3K. Basically what that means is that, you know, updrafts, which are the things that like kind of keep the thunderstorm alive, can kind of get stretched out when you have those kind of environments underneath the storm. It's usually on the very lower levels of the atmosphere where that's happening, and sometimes you can get those stretched down to the surface. So if any of these, prefrontal supercells out ahead of this storm can do that, we might have a little bit more of an elevated tornado threat. But yeah, this looks like this gets started around 12 p.m. near Chicago by 2 p.m., Logansport, Urbana by 4 p.m., Toledo, Indianapolis, Bloomington by 6 p.m. And this is around the time when our tornado chances are going to be a little bit more elevated, at least according to the SPC. Looking at our significant tornado parameter, though, you can see that not really a whole lot shows up. So yeah, not really any surprises right now. Maybe the only surprise is like a little bit of a higher chance over there south of Iowa City if we have storms firing in that area, which we kind of do. So maybe a 2% might be issued over here near like Davenport and like a continuation. As long as those storms aren't like outflow dominant, they might have a small chance of producing a tornado. And then pushing this forward, you can see we have some grays there, which is not really that elevated. There's really no point in this storm where we're really seeing much elevated significant tornado parameter. So it looks like it's going to be mainly damaging wind gusts. And now let's go look at that. So back over here, starting at around 10 a.m., we could have some gusty winds going through Cedar Rapids, Davenport, Burlington, and eventually that pushes off to the east. Looks like we could also get some damaging winds in the Chicago area. Anywhere from 60 to 70 mile-per-hour wind gusts are going to be possible. You can see that turns into a little MCS itself, moves through Kalamazoo, South Bend by around 3 p.m. By around 4 p.m., we have some storms over there near Logansport, bringing some damaging winds, and potentially even some, elevated damaging winds near Dayton and Hamilton, south of Bloomington as well, 7 p.m. And yeah, by the time we get to about 9 p.m., those damaging winds start to calm down as we move into the next day. So it's really looking mainly like a damaging wind event, really starting at 10 a.m., going all the way through the area, and then ending by around 10 p.m. And speaking of 10 p.m., though, look at the storms back over here at the very end of our model run. Over there just to the north and west of Des Moines. Those are some pretty big supercells there. And there is some significant tornado parameter nearby them. Heck, we might need a 5% back over here. If this is really going to happen, need to monitor this model trend as that pushes down towards Des Moines. If those latch onto an outflow boundary, those could actually be even strong tornado producers. Got to keep an eye on this. It'd be a late night threat, and we know how those goes. Those are never really that great and usually extremely devastating. So got to keep an eye on that storm. Not really saying it's going to happen. That could disappear in the models tomorrow, given it's July, but we'll check back in on it tomorrow for sure. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is the chances for our little tropical system to kind of do a little loop-de-loop and then come back into the Atlantic, maybe back over Florida and then back into the Gulf of Mexico. Kind of what we just dealt with last time. But again, we're obviously going to have to monitor that track, how much wind shear there's going to be and everything. And that might eventually try to develop into something, but I do want to preface this by saying we're a little bit far out on this forecast. So take it with a grain of salt. Definitely no definites here whatsoever. We're not even talking about a potential system right now. We're just kind of talking about what the models may think that could happen. That could change completely tomorrow. But as I push this forward, you can see that eventually we start to see some little numbers, or some of our members of our EPS model start to pop out here. That's quite a bit of them, indicating that a low pressure will be trying at least to try to develop there off the Atlantic. But you can see the Euro never really does too much with this on the Euro ensemble. Coming over to the GEFS, you can see that it also puts a couple of members out over in the Atlantic, and then actually the GEFS starts to bring it down into the Gulf, where we do have some members come pretty close to Louisiana. So it does paint a scenario of maybe a storm trying to redevelop into the Gulf of Mexico. So a little bit of disagreement there between both of our ensembles, but a signal nonetheless. Look at some of our deterministic models. This is the Euro deterministic model. You can see it kind of latches on to something, a little bit of a low pressure developing there in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. So it's not a completely bonkers idea to think that, something may eventually try to develop. We're around hour 44, which is about our 144, which is about 7 days from now. We're talking about next Thursday. So it's quite a while until we get there. And this is a pretty subtle system. It's a pretty weak system. So this could be a complete hallucination by our models. But it is something to note, like, hey, maybe in the future, you might see me posting another thumbnail about this. In terms of our environment out there, you can see that we are going to have a belt of moisture down here. So there's going to be plenty of moisture. Going to watch to see, though, how much this dry air tries to intrude on this system. That could be an issue if it comes down a little bit further down to the south. Also, our wind shear is going to be pretty similar to what happened with our last event. We're going to have the high pressure system still over the southeast, bringing that flow generally around into the top of the system, kind of pushing it down to the southeast, stretching it just like it did on the last time. So we could have a decent struggle with this storm to try to kind of vertically stack its circulation. But there is still some pretty warm temperatures out there into the Gulf of Mexico. They have cooled down a little bit because of that rain that came in with that last system, but still it's pretty much boiling out there in the Gulf of Mexico. So any little system or chance, unfortunately, we are going to have to watch it regardless of what the signal says. So we'll be keeping an eye on each forecast to just keep you guys in the know what the models are saying. If they disappears, we'll definitely let you know so you can stop having any form of anxiety about it. But as of right now, I would advise against being anxious. Again, this might not even form at all in the first place. We could just go out in the Atlantic and then, get sheared apart and we never see it again. Now, in terms of high temperatures for today, we're still talking about 80s and 90s over here in the Central Plains, going into the Southeast Plains, still 100-degree temperatures plus over here in the Pacific Southwest. 60s, 50s, depending on your elevation. Higher elevation, you're going to be cooler. Lower you are, you're going to be closer to like the 80s and 90s. That goes for the same over here near Denver. In the Southeast, 80s to 90s, depending on where the rain falls today. In the Southeast, East Coast, we're talking about widespread 90-degree temperatures pretty much all the way from Florida up into Virginia. And then it's going to be kind of cool up here in the Northeast today, 60s and 70s. So enjoy that up here near Minnesota and the Great Lakes. Also a little bit cooler up there as well. Now, generally, we're going to see it cool down overnight as well. And you can see as we get some more rain over there near Iowa and Wisconsin. That's going to cool things on the backside. As we go into peak heating tomorrow, you can really see it start to cool down over here into Wisconsin. Still 50s and 60s possible over there near the UP of Michigan. Warm does try to develop back into the region out in front of that little surface boundary or that shortwave trough that comes through. 90s to 100s over here in northern Oklahoma and Kansas, back over here near Phoenix as well. 90s still back over here in the southeast and still relatively cool up there into the northeast with some 60s and 70s again going into tomorrow. And again here in the southeast going up into the Tennessee Valley, into the Ohio Valley. It's most likely going to be cooler if we do get some widespread showers and thunderstorms like we were expecting. But that's going to be it for me, everybody, at least in terms of the forecast. But we got one more thing to do. After going through all of the video, I see that I have said the word or like 41 times, which was a lot more. And I just said it there again, so we might as well just say 42. But that is, gosh darn it, I can't even think about it. So 43, that is quite a lot. And I'm starting to figure out that this video is a big mistake. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't do push-ups that often. This kind of sucks. 11, 12, 13,
I have to take a break. Hi, yeah. Comment down below if you think I'm some sort of weakling. All right. 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh boy. It's not good. Come on. 8, 9, 30, 31, 32. Oh! Ah! No. My muscles are too weak. No. This is such a bad idea. This is such a big mistake. No. No. I can't do it. I can't do it. 5 at a time is not enough. What have I done? I hate to say it, but technically I did not specify what kind of push-ups. We're gonna do these last ones as girl push-ups because I'm a little weakling, I know. Literally, my muscles cannot handle another 11 push-ups. And I probably miscounted somewhere. Ugh. Eight. Oh. No. I can't even finish with girl push-ups. Oh no. This is so embarrassing. I only got 3 more left though. Only got 3 more left. We hit 40. He's got 3 more left to go. I'm gonna try to do them as regular push-ups. Oh my god. I forgot how hard push-ups were. No. Okay. 41. 42. Last one has to be a girl push-up. 3. What you guys made me do. That sucked. Bye.